Jai Anilo Premadano Paramakacho
He who brought the treasure of divine love and who was filled with compassion and mercy, where has such a personality as Srinivasa Acharya gone? Where are my Swarup Damodar and Rupa Goswami? Where is Sanatan? Where is Raghunath Das, the savior of the fallen? Where are my Raghunath Bhatta and Gopal Bhatta? And where is Krishna Das Kaviraj? Where did Lord Gauranga, the great dancer, suddenly go? I will smash my head against the rock and enter into the fire. Where will I find Lord Gauranga, the reservoir of all wonderful qualities? Being unable to attain the association of Lord Gauranga, accompanied by all of these devotees, in whose association he performed his pastimes, Narottam Das simply weeps. evening it's too cold. The air is blowing down on this spot. You can do whatever you want. I can't see. Just move with it. Do something. I think it comes right out of that way. Usually after this, to cool down the room, and then once the press comes, just put on. Do you have the air circulate? Is there? Just keep the air circulate, but no AC, just the fan. Jana Jana Savakaya Chaksu Militam Jina Tasmai Shri Gurudev Namaha Sri Chaitanya Mahaprastham Sthapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Bhuta Padamaya Vedati Swamatam. Yes, I know. I'm wearing short sleeves. Oh, sure. So, today we are going to speak about the significance of the disappearance of the Vaishnava Acharyas in memory of Sri Gadadhar Pandit, Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami and Kirtida Das. And in the Kirtida, I was thinking if she had left the body, even before she left the body, I was thinking that she could have left on this day, but I was very happy that she didn't do that, because these great personalities would have eclipsed her, because if she had left on this day, whereas by leaving on the day when no celebration is done, we can have a special celebration just for her. I think Srimati Radharani made arrangements for her to go and pursue that. As you can see, in prayer of Narottam Das Thakur, what the mood of separation is like when the Acharyas, Narottam Thakur says, I smash my head against the rock and enter into fire. I simply weep. So, it is a matter of great pain and agony that we lose the association, don't have the association of great personalities. The fact that we don't feel their absence all the time is simply the result of our ignorance. Ignorance means forgetfulness, or another meaning of ignorance is bodily absorption in simply our own material existence. Why should one want to weep or grieve for such persons? Because such persons are essential to our spiritual lives. Normally we want to avoid suffering of any sort. But this type of suffering is not the suffering that we want to avoid. Because this is a suffering that causes remembrance of who we are and what is our purpose in life. Acharya means one who teaches by example. This is one who means. One who teaches by example. We are dependent upon exemplars, persons who exemplify the ideal behavior of Krishna consciousness. Without their example, it is impossible for us to go forward in spiritual life. In that sense, although if we understand who each of these persons is, the Dharmapanda is the incarnation of Srimati Radharani herself. She incarnated as Krishna. As Lord Chaitanya is Krishna in the mood of Radharani, the Dharmapanda is directly Srimati Radharani. And Srila Bhaktivedanta Thakur is the Manjari maidservant. He gives his identity in one of his prayers. That he's a couple of Manjari. Very intimate maidservant. He always prays to the lotus feet of Nityananda and Janavadevi. Nevertheless, despite their exalted positions, Kirtida is close to us, in the sense that she lived among us. And so, her example is very encouraging to us. It's very available to us. And therefore, it is equally important to us. Because it gives us hope for persons who are born in very ordinary circumstances as we have been born in, that yet we can achieve the final goal of life. There's a connection between all of these three personalities. They all are in the same mood. They're all in the mood of which Lord Chaitanya came to taste and distribute, which is the mood of conjugal love for God. And so we have to see in their passing away two levels of understanding, at least two levels. One, that we have to become free from material desires, that we have to become free from bodily attachments, that we have to tolerate the miseries of life, that we finally have to tolerate the difficulties. How difficult it is, isn't it, to get out into the body and have the vivid example of Kirtida, to be able to see how it is very difficult to get out of the body. She wanted to leave the body for a long time because it gave her so many miseries. But it wasn't so easy. But she said finally, this time I will not be cheated. Because all the other times she stayed in her body, largely for the sake of the devotees, and perhaps particularly for my sake. She went through that surgery in January. She asked me, should I go through the surgery? And I said to her, how will I be? Who will look after me? She said, not here. She said, no, I will go through the surgery. But actually she wanted to leave. And in fact, we heard yesterday, she was very, very upset that she didn't leave during the surgery. She was hoping someone else still to pass away. But this time, And she got all of us to also go on board and also want her to do this because we could not bear to see her suffer anymore. So this is one level of understanding, or one broad lesson to learn. It is very difficult to get out of this body, even though it causes us so much pain, so much suffering. We are very attached to it. It's very hard to give it up because we're so wrapped up in believing that we are our bodies. But there is a further lesson to be learned, and this is that it is not simply that she was a great person, but we have to understand what thoughts occupied her mind. And this is very, very important to understand. If you look at all the pictures, see what was going on in that room. The house was called Kunt in the Sri Bhaktivedanta Swami Goswami, and that through the structure, Prabhupada translated. We understand that the highest place in existence is Radha-Kunt. Radha-Kunt is the place of the most ecstatic pastimes of Radha, Krishna, and the gopis. And then you put on the air. Just the air, not the air conditioning. And so the house that she departed in is called Radha-Kunt. That's significant. Furthermore, we know that the room that she lived in, she passed away, it was full of the mood of Radha-Kunt and grudge. In other words, she was in grudge consciousness. Bhaktivedanta Swami is in grudge consciousness. Grudge consciousness means the consciousness of Vrindavan Dham. Of course, Vrindavan hunted Srimati Radharani. Where is Radharani except in Vrindavan? She goes to Kurukshetra, but that pastime, she says, that it's the Krishna, and she is in Kurukshetra. This is Kurukshetra, it's not Vrindavan. It's the same moon-filled night. You are the same Krishna, and the same Srimati Radharani. But it's not the same here, with all these chariots and horses, so many other things. I want to take you to Vrindavan. And that's how we celebrate the Rath Yatra. Rath Yatra is a celebration of bringing Krishna back to Vrindavan. So, to be in Vrindavan consciousness is what Lord Chaitanya came to exhibit and teach. If you look at the prayers of Bhaktivedanta Swami, there's practically nobody more prolific. And Narottam Das Thakur, but Bhaktivedanta Thakur is so prolific in his writing of songs. Many, 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 many of his songs are describing Vrindavan and the service of Radha and Krishna in Vrindavan, particularly the service of Srimati Radharani. And this is, after all, what Kirtida desired. She desired to be engaged in the service of Srimati Radharani. She desired to have Rupa Goswami lead her into her service. She told me this. She was praying for this. And Srila Rupa Goswami would reveal to her everything about the service. And this is a proper prayer because we are Rupa Vaishnavas. And to follow Sri Rupa finally means to follow Sri Rupa Manjari. At At least that is another dimension of following Sri Rupa, because you can also follow Sri Rupa in any one of the different rasas. And it's not a forced issue, as we know from the example of Murari Gupta, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's associate, that he was a devotee of Sri Ram. He was an incarnation of Hanuman. And Lord Chaitanya was very pleased with him. He did not insist that he should give up the lotus feet of Sri Ram. So Rupa Goswami and Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, translated into devotion, explains that all of the rasas are perfectly glorious. And so to follow his teachings, to follow the Bhakti Rasa Sindhu's instructions can be any one of the rasas. Therefore we see in these paintings Krishna with his cows, Krishna with Vrindavan, the grass, the peacocks, the monkeys, the cowherd boys, father, mother, Yasoda, Nanda, and other elders, and finally the gopis. So all of the rasas are there, and each person has their particular relationship with Krishna. But finally, to another dimension, we know that Sri Rupa Goswami's personal relationship was as a manjari, as a gopi, a young maiden. And particularly, he's the personal attendant to Srimati Radharani. And so to follow him in that line is what Kirtida wanted. And surely she would get that. And she wanted it, and she didn't want anything else. She had no material desires. That's a big statement to make. I can't make that statement. I don't know anybody here who can make that statement. To say, I have no material desires. She said that. And I don't think she was exaggerating. She had no reason to lie to us. She had no desire for fame. She just stated a fact. No material desires. So we understand she had no spiritual desire. We don't believe that living entity gives up desire or become, because to give up desire means to stop existing as an individual. Individuals have desires. The only question is changing or purifying one's desire. So, her desire, she expressed very clearly, I want to be engaged in the service of Srimati Radharani, and I want Rupa Goswami to show me that service. So how did she come to this point? Well, Bhaktivedanta Swami describes how one is supposed to come to this point. Again, if you read his books, he has written many books, and gradually they're being translated. And I would request Mirabai, if she's here, yes, you should try to get these books. They are available in Vrindavan, many books, and I think that when you go to India, you have to look for these books. You're in a very important position here, because you can supply the devotees with important books to read. And I think that should be one of your services, when you have a gift shop and when you go to India, is to find the necessary books to help the devotees to progress in their spiritual life. These books are not easy to understand. Or you can say, reading these books is easy enough to understand, but how to assimilate their teaching within our own life is not easy. Because our own life is very worldly for many of us. I mean, there's not too many people like Mother Kamala that can just be engaged 24 hours a day. At least I hope even when she sleeps she can learn to be so engaged. But cooking sweets for the deities and absorbed like this. This is a very fortunate position. Therefore, Srila Prabhupada said, to be the pujari of the deity is the most fortunate position. Prabhupada told me this. It's one of the one thing he said in his last pastime. what consciousness do you do the worship? You can do deity worship with awe and reverence. That means you can offer incense, and you can offer the ghee lamp and the fans. You can do all of these things. But the consciousness in which you do them is what is important. And if you read Bhaktivedanta Swami's songs, you will see, and Narottam Das also, Narottam Das's songs, they describe what happens, what are the services that are done for the worship of deity. In particular, since Srila Bhaktivedanta and Srila Narottam are both absorbed in the service of Srimati Radharani and their associates, they describe personal service to them. And so, when you do deity worship, whether you do worship here, or whether you worship at home, deities, or whether you worship through chanting, because you have to understand that this worship it's done with the mind and with the heart. It's not just done with the body. The body is secondary. It's entirely secondary. It has to do far more with what is within you. The body just acts out what is going on in the heart and mind. So even you're not doing artis physically, but what you do when you chant japa is actually the seva that is going to fix you in service to your worshipable deity. Again, japa is not something mechanical. I must get through my 16 rounds. In the 16 rounds is just a block of time in which you're to engage in service. Internal service. And if you're fortunate, if you can pray in a way, then it depends. I mean, this is a question, because Srila Prabhupada, as long as his body held up, engaged in very vigorous, active preaching work. So Prabhupada repeats this again and again in his books. There's Gostinandi and Bhajananandi. A Gostinandi is a preacher. Bhajananandi means one who is engaged in one's own personal advancement by bhajan. And one is not necessarily better than the other, but one is easier to do than the other. Because it's very hard to do bhajan without, as the prayer goes, the Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada wrote, "My dear mind, what kind of Vaishnava are you?" The book John Thakur has translated these prayers and given some content. "My dear mind, what kind of Vaishnava are you? Just the chief fame and adoration. You go to a secluded place to imitate Haridas Thakur. But instead, you simply think of the opposite sex and money." So, this type of bhajan is not what we want. And for most of us, to simply try to do bhajan 24 hours a day is not possible. But we can go and preach or work for this movement 24 hours a day. That is possible. But if you don't also do bhajan, then the question is, what is the consciousness in which you're doing the work? Yet finally, at the end of life, you have to be fixed in personal service to your worshipable deity, your Ishtadeva. Then you have to be doing service throughout the day to that Ishtadeva. And most of us don't do that. We just do the work without really thinking of whom we're doing it for, what to speak of, without dedicating it to our worshipable deity. So it's not easy to assimilate the teachings of these books and songs into our daily life, but that is what has to happen. Many of you are engaged in worldly pursuits. Even I am engaged now. Well, I don't know how worldly, at least I'm writing the document. The dissertation is directly on Prabhupada and his teachings. It's on his philosophy. So it's not worldly, but the method is a very difficult method, and it requires me to be engaged in many worldly types of things. I mean, I don't find it so different that Prabhupada's having to do banking. Prabhupada had to go to printing presses. He had to deal with publishing houses. He had to deal with pounds, shillings, pence, as he said. mechanics of preaching. So I accept this as part of devotional service. But how we do it, what consciousness do we do it in, is what counts. So, to be in Vrindavan consciousness, then how are we going to get this? Well, Kirtida got it by living in Vrindavan for 6 years. That's how she got it. And some of you have never even been to Vrindavan. And I don't want to slight my effort because our Vaishnava acharyas, we know, Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, Bhaktivedanta Swami, they spent far more time in Navadvip, now Mayapur, than they did in Vrindavan. But you have to understand that when they were in Mayapur, they were in Vrindavan. Because if you look, you go to the place that Bhaktivedanta Swami established, every part of the place he associates with Vrindavan. And when he would go on the Navadvip parikrama, he associated each of the places not only with the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya, but with the pastimes of Radha Krishna. They were matched up. So she lived in Vrindavan for 6 years. And this tells us something. I'm trying to tell you that if you want to achieve the consciousness that she achieved, it's not going to happen unless you make some plans and execute those plans. If there are reasons why you cannot do what she did, live in Vrindavan, then you're going to have to find a way to bring Vrindavan here into your life, here in Dallas. And that's not as easy as living in Vrindavan. In some ways, living in Vrindavan is easier. You don't have to imagine the Jamuna River. It's there. You don't have to imagine the White Rock Lake is the Jamuna River. Go to the Jamuna River. You don't know that it's gratified or whatever. It's not easy to walk on these streets and see these cars as they go down the street with all of the culture and think you're in Vrindavan. So, some of you are wise enough that you're starting to take your vacations in Vrindavan. I would suggest that. I realize that it's a big, trip, and that you may need a break from time to time just from your normal work that happens, and you might want a weekend somewhere close by. But I would suggest that you start saving your money and going to Mayapur and Vrindavan, or into association with elevated personalities. That is the next point, is that an elevated person is a place of pilgrimage. Just like I go through the last couple of years, because I'm in Europe, I've been going to New Brajadam in Hungary to celebrate Janmashtami and Vyasa Puja. Why? Because I want the association of Sri Maharaj and the Dham that he created. I could stay very easily. I have 2 beautiful Radha Krishna deities there in Bhaktivedanta Swami. But I find that the consciousness and the mood of Vrindavan is more hungry by far because of Sri Maharaj's presence there than it is in these other places. So I go to be with a saintly person and all of the things that he's created there. So, we can do this. We can search out the association of advanced Vaishnavas and spend our time with them. Really, in the Dham, that's what you're supposed to find. If you go to a holy place just to take a bath in a lake or river, you're no better than a cow or a donkey. The purpose of going to such holy places is to find that advanced association. Prabhupada wanted advanced devotees to live in these holy dhams. So Kirtida did it for 6 years. And when she did, she took a lot of austerity to make her stay there fruitful. She didn't just sit in the restaurant and drink understand, eating pizza and drinking lassis and Vrindavan is just a way of attracting materialistic people. But if you want to make advancement, you're going to have to go beyond lassis and pizzas. You're going to have to perform austerities. What did the Goswamis do? What did Rupa and Sanatana Raghunath Das do? They lived with a bare minimum. They didn't have a house. They lived under a different tree every night. Raghunath Das was doing his bhajan on the bank of Radhapun, and the tigers were coming there until Sanatana Goswami saw this and said, you have to build a kutir, a little place to sit in, because these are very dangerous animals. And for the sake of setting an example, the kutir system was established. Otherwise, Raghunath Das had nothing at all. He chanted the whole thing. Offered obeisances 2,000 times a day. 2,000 times. What will happen to your legs after 2,000 obeisances? They did it. And I asked Prabhupada, how were they able to do it? How could Raghunath Das live on a little bit of buttermilk every day? Because that's all he took. And he was so much absorbed in the mood of Srimati Radharani's service that when some buttermilk was offered to him in a leaf cup, that was clearly a leaf cup from the place of Chandravali's village, Radharani's rival, even though he hadn't had anything to eat, he just took a little buttermilk, he threw the cup away. Meaning he didn't care. He was only absorbed. He was living on his seva, the meditation. But just like Kirtida, what was she living on? She wasn't living on water. She didn't live on it. She lived on just the seva, the meditation of the seva. We can't see that in the last few days. We saw it while she was talking. But in the last few days, when her bodily functions could not allow her to speak, and Prabhupada didn't allow him to speak, then we understand that what she was speaking about and thinking about just becomes internalized. It's not that the person is lying there inert, or that the person is in a delirious, confused condition. She wasn't confused. The only time she looked confused was when she kept telling us that she had to void, and all of us kept telling her, we were the confused ones, that, oh, your bladder is empty, but actually her bladder wasn't empty. And the reason she wanted to void is because she wanted to make sure that when she left the body, that the soul came out of her mouth and not through the passageway from passing air and stool. She wanted to make her body pure before she left. She wasn't confused at all. She knew exactly what she was doing. Maybe the muscles and the nerves didn't connect right to allow her to void easily. But that's because the body stops functioning. But the consciousness didn't stop at all. It was perfect. And it was absorbed in the right way in Radha Krishna Bhajan inside. So, the Goswamis performed so many austerities, basics, constantly, right? To the point where, to the point where he couldn't do it like the Dada Pandit when he was serving his deity in Puri. And he got so old by the end of his life that he couldn't reach up to put the garland on the deity. So what did the deity do? The deity sat down. Now we can't understand it. How can a marble deity change its position? Right? Some will have trouble with this. Well, how does a marble deity walk? Like Shashi Gopal walk? Well, we accept that the deity can do these things for elevated persons' sake, so that Vedanta Pandit would not have to reach up. The deity sat down, so to be gone from this. Bhaktivedanta Thakur, also became had difficulty physically towards the end of his life, his final years. That's natural. This is how you get out of the body. But they, as long as their bodies were active, they did stay. They took austerities. So we recoil from the idea of austerity. I myself used to enjoy austerities. Now, because of the surgeries and I suffered so much, I'm afraid of them. I always think consider what to do. It troubles me a great deal not doing austerities, because austerities are the wealth of the renounced order. I'm not in the renounced order of life. But I'm confused a little bit because of the surgeries. They so confused my life in a sense, because they were redefining so many things about my life. But Kirtida, she had surgeries and she kept going. She pushed her body. She did go without Parikram, although people said she should not do it. Everybody told her not to do it. She just did it, and she did it faster than anyone else. We heard that. She did so many things that were difficult for her body. So you have to decide, either you keep yourself comfortable now, and then you get uncomfortable at the time of death, and you don't get to go, or you take tapasya. Tapasya means voluntary austerity for the sake of spiritual advancement. You have to decide. Just like, Mother Columbus said, it's very difficult for her, but she's fixed her mind. It's very difficult for her, but she's fixed her mind on getting up very early in the morning. Well, she got the reward. She got to be right next to Kirtida. She got that reward for that. That's the payoff. That's one of the payoffs that she's done. I think Dhirmsha got a payoff, because he's such a selfless servant. He's always staying up in his ridiculous hours. So he took, the late night shift chanting, and the person didn't show up and was scheduled to. He just stayed on and kept chanting. He got the mercy. And Shangaram got the mercy. I think our Singapore girls, right? Were both there. Were you up at that time? No. Who else was in the room? Vishaka Priya. And Guru Bhakti. Well, they all got some special mercy. Now, I don't feel like I missed any mercy. I mean, Kirtida gave out so much mercy that, we just all feel like a cup that's overflowing. Nobody feels like they missed anything. She made sure. She hugged everyone, kissed everyone. Just freely gave so much. So I'm speaking about austerities and requesting you how we would do that. I'm trying to tell you what Kirtida's passing is about on two levels. One level, okay, you're seeing. We're going to each have to go through this. How are you going to do it? I told you this when I first arrived. I don't want any of you to be alone. I would like every one of you to have the advantages she had, but I don't know if that will happen, because you can't orchestrate these advantages. You can't force people to come see you. You can't force me to come. I don't know if I can come to each and every one of you, nor whether I will be here, because I may go before you in any case. But I can't promise, and I don't know if anyone can. What made us come here was her. It was her Krishna consciousness that made us come here. And, this is the final goal. I mean, I can try and get my PhD, and you can try and do business, or try and raise children, and do whatever you're doing. Everybody can try and do it. But finally, when we get noticed, if we suddenly get noticed that our end is near, we're not going to keep doing what we're presently doing. We might as well realize that. Everything else is going to become unimportant. And the only thing we're going to do then is try to figure out how to leave our body ideally. And if you try just at the end to get ready, you can't do that. I mean, you're dealing with a race against time. You should understand this. You're racing against the clock. The clock is ticking, and your life is being expended right now, every breath. So, I mean, I'm calculating. I'm not telling you you don't know how troubled these years have been for me doing this academic work, because I kept worrying that if this deviates me from the final goal, it would be a disaster for my life, and it would be so unhelpful to all of my disciples, all of you in the movement who depends upon me. So it's a calculated risk that I'm taking right now. I'm just calculating that I'm going to have long enough life. But, I've heard enough lectures from Prabhupada, don't do that. You should live each moment as if it's the last moment of your life. Now, what does that mean? We should all stop what we're doing. That'd be hard. Some have young children to support and so many other things to do. We can just stop. Well, we better do both things. If you can't stop, then you darn well better put some energy into this preparation. Now, just like people put money into insurance policies or different things for times of need, well, you better start putting something away daily. Whether it's with both money, but it's more than that. It's your practices of spiritual life have to be geared towards this final moment. I wish that we can all have the advantage to Kirtida. I wish that we could come to the point. I don't know how we can do it. How are we going to get to the point of loving people the way she did? How are we going to get to the point of giving ourselves the way she did? She obviously was born with that ability, because we heard it from her youthhood. She was already like that, and we're not like that. Naturally, we're not like that. So, if you can't, you know what they say, imitation of a good thing is good. To imitate a good thing is at least good. Even if you can't do it, you can imitate. You can mechanically do it. You can put yourself into a position where you're forced to get, just like the Deterrent said to me last night, I don't know anyone else except, Rousey Ken and Padua that would have opened their house and made their home the way it was. I said, the only person I know is Rabbi Noah. They're the other two. They're the only two people I know. There's the only two couples I know in this community that are, they are capable of giving on that level. I think Nityananda also would do that. He does do that. I don't even know where he lives at this point. Okay, well, he and my brother. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there are more, but this is giving to nature. People whose houses are open, who just don't feel this is my home. And I'm completely opposite of that. I'm not that level. I've got people who can't get near me. Sorry, everyone knows this. Everybody knows it. I have, so many things. My doors are locked. It would be very hard for me. It will be very hard. But we have to come to this point. Try to understand that. How are we going to change ourselves so entirely from what we are now to what we have to become to be able to go back to Godhead? This is a very serious problem that each one of us faces. I don't face it any less than everyone here. And it's so important to me because I've got to set an example for all of you that you can't imagine the anxiety that puts me in. If I can't leave my body in an ideal way, that would be very, I have to think about that. And I think each of us does, if not for others, for yourself, right? Senator Punda says, please save yourself. Sacrifice everything. Come find what you have to save yourself. Some offerings I want to read. One came from the temperature mark, two actually. Just to show Kirtida I got something she didn't get. I forget, think that I wasn't going to read it. I didn't need it distributed, I'm going to distribute it. I'm speaking it. And one from Shiva Maharaj. Here's the temperature mark's offering. To me, not to Kirtida. Dear Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. I'm hoping to have this read to the assembly of devotees in Dallas. On the occasion of Mother Kirtida's passing, I'm sending a copy to Kunti's address in case you are not getting it online. The passing of a Vaishnava is always auspicious, and from what we all experienced in Dallas with Kirtida's last days, shows this to be true. Surely, she was a special soul, without doubt. Everyone in Dallas should feel blessed that she chose to depart from this world in your company. Her passing has has surely brought everyone there closer as a community to Guru and Krishna. Those living there have also learned that we too will leave this world someday, and that the association of the devotees is our only hope. How she was served there is an example to all. My seeing the selfless example of her hosts, Rasakendra Prabhu and Madhvaduli Prabhu, was truly amazing. How all the devotees rallied to be at her side, to assist her throughout the day and night, to help was truly amazing. Devotees flying in from all around the world, sacrificing to help one of our own go back to Krishna, was truly amazing. This should surely pacify the hearts of all, knowing that we are all here together to help each other out of this material prison. Now, we should take full advantage and not allow any type of Maya to creep in and cause derailment of our faith, Guru, Krishna. No. On the other hand, we should all become absorbed in this same service attitude that prevailed in Kirtida's association these past few months and assist each other more and more in our service. I met Kirtida years ago in Vrindavan. It was winter, and she seemed to be very sick, with a chest infection or something. I stopped her at the back gateway of the temple, even though I didn't know her, and this was our first exchange. I told her how to get some medicine and to sit in the sun and help her cough. I even told her that if she didn't have any Lakshmi, I would pay for her medicines. She was surprised that I stopped her and offered to help. We didn't know each other yet, and I thought she was a widowed Indian devotee living in the Dham without support. She thanked me for the advice and said she had no problem paying for her medicine. Over the years, I found out she was Goswami's disciple. I would see her in the Dham and come to know that she was staying there to die and taking devotees on parikrama of the Dham. We would exchange haribols as we passed each other, not knowing that soon we would be closely related. Then in 1999, when Goswami got sick, we were together for several months, helping him through his illness. One should understand that for a lady to have this close and intimate relationship and direct service to their spiritual master is not ordinary. Somehow or other, she came into this position and served with heart and soul. We all know the trials that Maharaj went through during his illness, and Kirtida was the one who was there throughout the whole ordeal. She was a registered nurse and did all the nursing services on a daily basis for months. One should understand this wasn't an easy task to do. Goswami's needs were high at the time of his illness, and she was the recipient of his demands. Most devotees would not be able to withstand the pressure of this service, as we saw in the case of Srila Prabhupada. Most who were in such close quarters didn't make it. Only those with full faith in Guru could pass this test, and pass the test she did. She sacrificed everything in his service, and at that time and now reaps the rewards. Her faith and devotion to Guru and Krishna is and was an example to all. In my opinion, she hung on only to be at Maharaj's Vyas Puja, and was then satisfied and resolved to go. This is the type of faith needed to return home, back to Godhead. Now she was gone, her feelings are mixed, knowing that she had surely ascended to the higher realms, according to the plan of Krishna, we rejoice. Not having her with us here, we lament. Oh, what a mixture of feelings this is. Now we can all come together and take the time to grieve her passing and to reflect on the nature of this world. Taking shelter of the Shastras and the holy name of Krishna, we pass over this dark moment of this material existence and see the transcendental light offered by Guru Krishna. God that is light measures his darkness. Where there is Godhead, there is no measures. Haribol, Kirtida Mataji, Jai. Your servant Bhaktivedanta Swami. Then he sent me another message. It says, one more point. That's the title. Please accept my humble obeisances. I just heard that Kirtida hacked my Giriraj on her forehead as she passed from this world. This is amazing, as I am daily doing Manasa Puja to Giriraj on the road. On a rare occasion, I get caught up and it slips my mind. Yesterday, I took a bath in the evening and was prepared to do the puja when something happened, and then I took rest, forgetting to put him to rest. So it seems that he knew something and stayed up the night with her. When I woke up this morning, I thought, oh no, I forgot to care for Giriraj. Now I hear that he was up all night and his devotee. He was up all night with his devotee, blessing her in the last minutes. Giriraj Maharaj ki jai, Kirtida Mataji ki jai. Then I got a message from Shiva Maharaj. A homage to Kirtida Devidas. Dear Kirtida, please accept my blessings. All glories to Srila Gurudev, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Well, this is what the world is like without Kirtida Devidas. I did not know you very long, or as well as I would have liked to. Fate kept me busy as usual, but we were not far from each other in the UK. I spoke to you a few times before you entered the hospital. After that, our 3 or 4 talks were closer, more meaningful, without the usual barriers that social interaction implies. The specter of death does remove many barriers for all. My impression of you is strongest from the impression you made upon my friend, your Gurudev. You served him in his hour of personal need, and you purchased his heart. That I saw long ago. When the time of your need arrived, he was there by your side. At first, faithful Guru, then faithful friend, and at the end, faithful disciple. He told me you had taught him so much. By the impression you made on him, I am impressed. That will be how I shall probably remember you, by the marks I see upon the heart of my Goswami Maharaj. After all is said and done, it is what is within and upon the heart that counts. Please do not forget me. I reminded you every time we spoke. When you meet Radhe Shyam, remind them of me, serving them in this place, anxious for their mercy. Please do not forget me. When will we meet? I do not know. Perhaps many years, events, and devotees will come and go before that time. Will I recognize you or you me? It doesn't matter. If I am with my friend Goswami Maharaj, he will recognize you and introduce us. I was not there at your disappearance, but I heard of it. You were a lady. I, a sannyasi, but I am impressed by your strength. It gives me strength. I've learned a lot. I am inspired. I thank you. You are a real trooper, real Vaishnavi. And now you will be be a Brajvasi. Please don't forget. You're serving Shiva. These are sort of one of documents. So we can see how the Vaishnavas are feeling. These sentiments are so sacred. And hopefully each of you will keep a picture here in the homes. I'm going to talk with Nityananda and others about making this Pushpa Samadhi, flower Samadhi for her. That's what I want to make for her in college tomorrow. So that you'll be able to go daily, on your basis, just like in Mayapur, we have countless bodies in Vrindavan, and the flowers that are on this body are in Mayapur. So I want to make it appropriate Pushpa Samadhi here today in College Junction Park. And every day you can go there, off the basis. If you're smart, you should also go. The only problem is the chiggers, but maybe temples should just keep the chiggers away from it, because otherwise it's hard to get there. And you should also try to circumambulate Tulsi's house. That's a very special place. So we'll see how to do this. You have to figure out how to make the park in the final way. The park is not, just as we made the temple, we have to make a parking lot of it. We have to finally decide how to use this park. So where this money will go, because I think that it's nice that people can eat out of the lawn. So we need to have one very big open area. But maybe that other places in the park can be designed where it would be a samadhi. I thought about this, that some of you have served in this dharma your whole lives, so it would be appropriate to have samadhis for some of you who are founders of this community. That would be very nice, provided you keep going in this way, which I'm sure you will. But I want to have it protected because dogs come here and people come and walk, so I'm not sure exactly how it will all be done. But, I've always felt there should be a fence, like an wrought iron fence around the park. So it's a little bit protected. So I don't want to just build something that and have it desecrated. Like dogs passing here and people coming and doing some crazy things. Well, anything is, part of the ceremony we're going to do a Pushpanjali to show Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. We'll say the prayers, and we'll have an arti for him. We'll do it now, but normally it's done in the room, but we have everybody here now, so it's better to do it now. But let's see if anyone wants to add something. Everyone numbers in the crowd, I always think you're going to say something, so it's not going to disappoint. Yes.
Going back to your point about Vrindavan consciousness and how Kirtida developed that, and how when you go to Vrindavan, you proper consciousness to be. And I was thinking when you were talking about sitting in the restaurant, and also how by Krishna's arrangement, if someone engages in sense gratification in Vrindavan, they generally get sick. So plus the fact that pizza is so bad that it's not scary to eat it.
But now they have good pizza at the MGT.
Maybe they should never open a good restaurant because eating at that restaurant will increase your make more exams. But it's just the nature of living there that you can't really function on a level too much. A little sense recognition, can't go too much. And those who are more serious go there.
Watching the period. Excuse me. Watching the period, don't believe because you got to film the first one. Go ahead.
It's just the fact that someone can get there and stay there, and will be able to stay there, Krishna will help them reduce their sense craving. It's just not so prevalent. You have to kind of go out of your way to get it, and often you'll get sick if you try to get it.
And going back to the open houses, I would like to say that I think that Mirabai house is also open house. I am seeing
Everybody's house.
I am seeing in her house some devotees coming, and she is offering prasadam. And I know her from England.
Because I have to invite myself to get in the house. She invites everybody but me. That's why I didn't know it was an open house.
And also, I just realized how it is important to be servant of a servant of a servant. By having her association, I just realized how you should serve a guru. I was just amazed when he was coming for a prasadam to her house. She spent 2 days completely unconscious. She was cleaning walls and floors and everything, like Srila Prabhupada was coming, who was doing exactly the same in a temple. And also, there is one devotee in England, her name is Shalini, and she completely made her a devotee. She's coming to the temple every week. She is ringing to Mirabai every week, and she is telling me, a wonderful devotee. She told me that Purangana, without Mirabai help, I will be never able to do what I am doing now.
So many persons in English she made devotees.
Yes, many people, but especially this Shalini, she just depends on Mirabai's mercy. She is preaching to her by telephone every week. It's Mirabai is very special devotee. She helps me a lot, and her example for me is very important as well.
She's equally brave and determined as Kirtida. She's very determined also. Passionate, fervent, determination. Very strong devotee. Yes, Master King.
So I was thinking, you were saying how the Kirtida did not leave the body and the disappearance of the Bhaktivedanta Swami. I think this is another special mercy on us, so that every day when a great Vaishnava leaves, we can be absorbed in their thought. And I was thinking one more thing yesterday, when we saw the body get into the furnace, it was looking so beautiful, the body. And while it was shut for about 5 hours, we were doing kirtans and bhajans there. When you open, it was just little bone slab and some ashes. I was thinking, even at the time of death, even at this stage, she's teaching us a lesson. It was just a very great lesson. We were just looking into the oven, it was just bones, and say, where's the Kirtida? She said, 1 minute Shiva body was in, the next minute she's gone. And all of us had a deep realization. We get caught in all such petty quarrels and politics and all very mundane things. But what is the use of all this when this is what we have to go through? And then one more thing she did was, when we collected the ashes, she was so magnanimous that when the guy, the crematorium, was trying to pick up some metal parts which were still in the body, the clips and he picked out some beads. We left there, and these were actually Radhakund beads which were made out of stone. And even at that time, she was giving a mercy. We felt that was just so amazing. And all of us took one of those beads and keep it up. I said that this is a truly magnanimous soul, that even at that stage, she wants to give a mercy and serve the devotees.
There's 7 people making the video, there's 7 pieces of stone.
You were the 8th one.
That's because you were going back and forth. I was going to say, don't worry. Again, she'll She'll give you mercy, it doesn't matter. But they take all those clips and everything.
Yeah, he used the magnet and amazing amount of metal in the body, you know.
That's right. That's how you do surgery and meditate person. You know, all of that.
In the favorite way, Krishna was he said, I never felt so good about what I was doing. You know? He said, it's so amazing. He said, I think I should make special arrangements for you, for your community. Whenever something happens, he said, I'd like to make, he said, I'm going to put a fan here now, so that when you come and do this. He said, nobody stays in this crematorium as long as you have, not even I. You know, one body is going, he goes away, and then he comes back again when the time is over. But we stayed the whole stretch, and he said, he was just totally blown away by the experience.
And the third said he never saw it, also, it never happened so quickly.
Never.
He said in 30 years of working in funeral services, he never ever saw anything move that smoothly as it went through all of its different stages. So 30 years it was in the business, we never saw it before, that it could happen so quickly. Because we know the body should be burned ideally before noontime. And her body went in 18 minutes before, 17 minutes before noon, 12 noon.
It was also amazing that when I was going back and forth, the second time I came back down, and it was built not that far out. When I came back, it's just a garage, really. There was 2 houses in it, and then the second room with some other tools and different things. And right, the driveway, you come in the driveway, and there's burial stone, buried right next to the driveway, there's a little fence, it's a cemetery on both sides of the road. So when I pulled in, Rupa Nui at the time was chanting, and I got out of the van, and it was just like this intense spiritual energy just emanating out of this little garage that we were chanting. It was really amazing. It was like coming into like an ecstatic here, kind of that energy was just bellowing out of this place. And I thought, wow, man, I'm so lucky all these souls that may be there in the graveyard, they're all going to purify completely.
Some of the cars that were driving by, they would stop. They were looking to the game. People are dancing and jumping up and down. They go past it like this all the time. Nothing like this happens. What's happening here? It's totally amazing experience.
Also, when I came back, the Janata was laying down inside this place, taking a little nap, and I thought, nobody in their right mind is in the middle of a blazing kirtan would be able to sit down and take a nap in a place like that in the middle of the cemetery. You know?
When we were standing, we were like, it's not like 5 hours. It just went so fast. We didn't even know it was 5 hours. It just went. Time just went. So, and it was beautiful. The place was so hard because it was a metal roof. And somehow we could stay there. And I stayed there without drinking water all day, and she just made it possible. It was 1,500 degrees. And the furnace was 1,500 degrees. You didn't feel the heat. And the guy at the crematorium, he was a thorough gentleman. And if somebody doing that job, it's very difficult to find a gentleman like him. Very, very nice.
You should give him some books. Bring him, someone should visit him, and bring him a book like Beyond Birth and Death. Some appropriate book that will be suitable to his understanding, given the fact he's dealing with dead bodies. I mean, he's in a very good position to understand something about the soul. Very good position. I think you should bring him a book. That book, you know that book, Beyond Birth and Death? I mean, that has the right title. I haven't read it recently, but I don't remember what the subject is, but certainly that's the right title for it. Well, Arjun, you really should have been here because people spoke and you could have moved your here, right? Still came up. Huh? Nobody knows how to work. Nobody knows how to work. I got so many kids. Yeah, your son is sitting right here also. He didn't know. Oh. No, he's not that often. That's all the fault of the Okay, the sound came up. You could see my reactions. Sometimes in drama they say that's better. Instead of seeing the action, you see how it's reflected in another person. That famous drama Shahjahan. It's named Shahjahan. Shahjahan is the father of Aurangzeb. The drama is about Aurangzeb in a sense. And Aurangzeb appears to be the hero of the drama, but the whole drama is focused on what Aurangzeb's horrible activities had the effect it had on his father. So the drama is named after his father. Because it's more emotional to see the tremendous effect that the horrible activities of the son had on him than to see the activity directly of the son. I hope I was expressive. I don't think I wasn't expressive enough when each of these spoke. People watching the video could have seen everything just from my expression, but I was also sitting here. Okay, I think everybody has said what they want, so we will start with a Pushpanjali. We'll say all the Mangalacharya prayers, and then offer flowers to Srila Bhaktivedanta Thakur. Then we'll have an arati to Srila Bhaktivedanta Thakur. And there's a fast today until noon. What time is the feast? What time is the arati?
12 o'clock. 12 and after that.
The arati is at 12, and the feast will be directly at 12:30. 12:45. Where?
In the community hall.
In the sanctuary. Okay? Srila Gadadhar Pandit Prabhu ki, Srila Bhaktivedanta Thakur ki, Kirtida Sundari ki, Sri Chaitanya Mistam Stapitam Ena Dale Maya Rupa Gada Mayam Tati Vasantikam Vande Sri Guru Sri Kamalan Sri Guru Sri Rupam Sarvajatam Sarvanatam Sajivam Satvaitam Savadutam Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padam Anita Shri Vishaka Vitamscha Namaho Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Acharine Nirvishesha Shanava Shunyavadi Paschata Deshatarane Namah Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Iti Namine Sri Varsavanavi Devi Dayataya Prabhade Krishna Sambandha Vijnana Dayane Prabhave Namaha Madhuja Ujjala Premadya Sri Rupanuga Bhaktida Sri Gaura Karuna Shakti Vigrahaya Namostute Namaste. Did I skip one? Did I skip a month? No. Namaste. Gauravani. Namaste. Yeah, Gauravani. Sri Murte. Vitarane. Rupanuga. Tapa. Siddhanta. Adane. Namo. Aura. Ishwaraya. Vairagya. Vipralamba. Sambodhe. Madambo Jaya. Hare Namaha. Namo Bhakti Vinodaya. Satchidananda Namine. Gaura Shakti Swarupaya. Rupanuga Varayate. Gaura Veera Baba Bhumestvam. Nirdasta Sahajana Priya. Vaishnava Sarvabhauma. Sri Jagannathaya Te Namaha. Panchakalpatarubhaischa. Kripa Sindhu Bevacha. Patitanam Pavanebhyo. Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. Namo Mahabalanaya. Krishna Prema Pradayate. Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya. Nani Gore Tushe Namaha. Panchatattvatmakam Krishnam. Bhaktarupa Swarupakam. Bhaktavataram Bhakyakyam. Namami Bhakta Shaktikam. Hey Krishna Karna Sindhu. Dinabandhu Jagatpate. Gopesha Gopika Kanta. Radha Kanta Namostute. Ayatam Sudato Pangur. Mama Mandamater Gate. Matsara Supadam Bojo. Radha Madana Mohano. Divinindalanya Kalpadrumadyat. Srimad Ratnagara Singhasanasto. Sri Radha Srila Govinda Devo. Stalibi. Devyamano. Smarami. Sriman Rasarasa Rambi. Bamsi Bhatta Tatashtitaha. Karshan Venu Svanir Gopir. Gopinatha Shri Estuna. Sapta Kanchana Gaurange. Radhe Vrindavaneshwari. Vishabhanu Sutta Devi. Pranami Hari Priye. Namo Bhakti Vinodaya. Satchidananda Namane. Gaura Shakti Swarupaya. Rupanuga Varayate. Pushpanjali. Namo Bhaktivedanta
Namo Bhaktivedanta
Satchidananda Namane
Satchidananda
Gaura Shakti Swarupaya
Gaura Shakti Swarupaya
Rupanuga Varayate
Rupanuga Varayate
Pushpanjali
Pushpanjali.
Namo Bhaktivedanta
Namo Bhaktivedanta
Satchidananda Namane
Satchidananda Namane
Gaura Shakti Swarupaya
Gaura Shakti Swarupaya
Rupanuga Varayate
Rupanuga Varayate
Pushpanjali
Pushpanjali.
Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur ki
Jai.
Okay, we're going to have a arti now.
Vande
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Jani to the long Vishnupa, Paramanta Vraja Kacharya, Sri Shimad is Divine Vishnu Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada Ki. Jani to the long Vishnupa, Paramanta Vraja Kacharya, Sri Shimad is Divine Vishnu Kadar, Srila Gokishardas Babaji Vinod Ki. Jani to the long Vishnupa, Paramanta Vraja Kacharya, Sri Shimad is Divine Vishnu Bhakti Vinod Thakur Ki. Long Vishnupa, Mandu Raja Gacharya, Sri Shimad, the Divine Jagannath Das Bhakti Maharaj Ki. Gacharya, Sri Prabhupada Ki. Jai Sri Sanatan Bhakti Raghunath, Sri Jiva Gopala Bhakti Das Raghunath Satguru Swami Prabhu Ki. Vrendra Kaho, Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Sri Advaita Gadar Bharati Vasadi Gopal Bhakta Vrida Ki. Sri Radha Krishna Gopinasham Kunda Radha Kundagini Govardhan Ki. Sri Vrindavan Dham Ki, Sri Mathura Dham Ki, Sri Mayapur Navadip Dham Ki, Namuna Devi Ki, Ganga Devi Ki, Bhakti Devi Ki, Tulsi Devi Ki, Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki, Sankirtan Yagna Ki, Sri Radhakal Janti Dham Ki, the Disappearance Day of Sri Gadadhar Pandit Prabhu Ki, Disappearance Day of Srila Bhaktivedanta Thakur Ki, Gaur Bhaktivedanta Ki. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories, all glories, all glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. So please forbid after the noontime arti, so I can come